In my last video, I briefly mentioned my hakaba kitaro, or I guess graveyard kitaro, idea being scrapped. Well, I'm deciding to make it now because you people are actually interested. I believe that this right here is the worst piece of kitaro media I have ever seen. Not the worst thing that I've ever seen, but still, it has a lot of flaws that people especially gloss over. But before I get into this one, I should explain what exactly this show is. This show kinda presents itself as a prequel of sorts. It's based on the first illustration of Kitaro way back in the early days, before Gegege no Kitaro was even coined as the final name for the series. One fault of this prequel already is that we already kinda know Kitaro's backstory. The multiple adaptations, such as the 90s version, show and tell how Kitaro was made. A quick recap for those who don't know, Kitaro's parents belonged to a ghost tribe, and both of them died. However, when Kitaro's mom was buried, Kitaro climbed out of the grave, Kitaro's dad was reincarnated into his old corpse's eyeball, and then the two of them met, and they've been inseparable ever since. However, I don't think that this prequel merely wants to explore how Kitaro was born, but what made him into the person he is today. So, does this series accomplish this? Well, not really. Kitaro is kind of portrayed as a brat, which is fine, most kids are brats, but if you're gonna show Kitaro growing and learning, wouldn't you want him to change over time? Plus, when it comes to brat characters that you want to redeem, you need to make it so that they have some redeemable qualities. However, Kitaro is not my main issue with this series. Another main issue it has is at the beginning, we get introduced to Mizuki, who is obviously named after the creator himself. And I originally thought that this is where Kitaro got his love of humans from. Mizuki adopts Kitaro after his parents die, and seems to treat him like a son. However, we don't actually see this on screen, and then Mizuki straight up is written out of the story for the rest of the anime. Yes, I checked, he doesn't appear in the other 10 episodes. Another problem I have with this series is that it doesn't really like to keep continuity all that much. You see this guy, the guitar vampire? Yeah, he appears in the series, and his episode plays out the exact same way it does in every single other adaptation. How does this make any sense? Wouldn't that mean in every other adaptation, Nezumi Otoko would recognize this vampire and not fall for his tricks again? But we already know in other adaptations where Kitaro is older that he does fall for the trick. So why add in the guitar vampire to your prequel series unless you're gonna expand on his origin? Which they don't, by the way. And then there's Neko Musume, who dies in her episode, but that kind of contrasts with the actual Neko Musume. Are these two the same? Did one get reincarnated? Why give them the same name instead of giving this Neko Musume her own name and just say that Neko Musume is a type of yokai that exists? Then you also have characters that never show up again, like who is this girl Kitaro talks to? I have no idea. But I think the worst offender of Graveyard Kitaro is these two characters, as they are wasted potential and just anticlimactic. To explain, the first one is Fake Kitaro, who teams up with Nezumi Otoko to kill Neko Musume. Yes, these guys literally die. Then, Kitaro's dad then leads Fake Kitaro to where Neko Musume is so that he can apologize. And this crying scene actually hits really hard. How come the fake Kitaro has more depth and personality than the actual one? Anyway, he comes back and then he joins Kitaro and his dad. And he's just cracking jokes the whole time, as if he didn't go through that whole entire arc. And then he later dies by the next character I'm going to talk about, the Water God. Just unceremoniously dies. Speaking of which, in an earlier episode, Kitaro was hired to collect the debt of this Water God. And then, later on, the Water God comes to life and starts murdering people, Yes, this thing has the power to dissolve people, and since it's made out of water, it can literally travel through any water source, as shown by this death here. Maybe this yokai will be the final boss or something. And then it just gets immediately killed off by this werewolf guy. Why introduce this thing as a huge threat that flooded an entire city and killed multiple people, all of a sudden just be destroyed by this werewolf guy? I'd probably forgive it if it was like at the end of the series. Like I said, I wish that this was more of a climax, but it's just plopped in the middle of an episode. And also, the series doesn't have that much of a satisfying end either. So Kitaro sells this life insurance business, which kills 3 guys, but hey, they get to go into the underworld and watch this thing take one step, which is kind of a funny joke. And then we just have Kitaro and Nezumi Otoko walk off, and that's it. You see what I'm getting at here? This series didn't explain shit. It doesn't explain how Kitaro went from this to this. It doesn't explain characters that are already established and why they're here. And of course, it wastes 2 perfect opportunities to have Kitaro grow as a person and just unceremoniously kills them off. I can hear the argument of, well, just view this as a regular show, as its own thing. Well, even if I did, you're mostly just stuck with a brat kid whose dad often has to deal with these situations. Yeah, you might notice, but Kitaro barely does jack shit to solve these issues. It's normally his dad that's doing all the work. Again, I'd forgive this if the series showed Kitaro like starting to develop his powers. You know, his iconic powers of lightning, his chanchako, and of course his sandals. But no, none of that. We get nothing. Speaking of which, I wish Kitaro's dad also kind of had a little bit of development. Maybe you could show him having to struggle taking care of such a bratty kid. Maybe have the 2 of them start to develop their son-father relationship. But we didn't get any of that, did we? All we got was just this one weird kid going about town, getting beat up, and then his dad having to do all the yokai work. Anything I say positive about this series is kinda surface level. The art looks pretty good, the opening theme, and of course the music in general is a banger, even though some tracks are lifted from other adaptations, of course. But that's all the positive things I have to say about it. Overall, I think this is the series' rock bottom. But that's a good thing. You wanna know why? That means all the other adaptations are definitely better than this thing. That's all I really have to say about the series. It just fails as a prequel and as a Kitaro show. Maybe I'll watch Gegege no Nazo. Maybe that will cleanse my palate. Post-video me here. Hello. I just want to say, comment down below any other redeeming factors you want me to know about. I'd be happy to read them and gain a new perspective. Okay, bye-bye.